Big news in the Premier League. Spurs and Liverpool. Injury worries. Starting with Spurs, obviously the big news we heard that Harry Kane is out until March. That's massive. That's absolutely massive. And it's not to say that Spurs are a one-man team and they can't live without Kane. He's their star striker. That is no doubt. But the reality is, Kane's gone. Son's gone to the Asian Cup. Sissoko's out. Dyer's out. Dembele's gone off to China. Wanyama's nowhere to be seen. They're struggling for players. They've got one senior midfielder, central midfielder, which is Harry Winks. The other option around there is Oliver Skip, some youngster. Up front, they're going to have to be using between Llorente, who Potts doesn't seem to really trust. Lucas Moura, if he can get back to fitness, he's had his injury problems. I guess Lamella's now going to come back into the fold in terms of the first team. But they are struggling. They have got, in terms of the actual opposition, the fixtures aren't as bad as they could have been. I think it could have been a lot worse for them. But they've got a lot of games in a short period of time. I think that's the main thing. If we look at their fixtures, the next one up this weekend, they are playing Fulham away. So you would say even without those players, they should be able to get past Fulham. I think the midfield is the main area they may struggle, but they shuffle things around, maybe drop Eriksen back a bit. And I said if they get more back fit, then they should have enough. But then after that, they got Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, second leg of the Carabao Cup. Again, they can play the first team or the first choice available players, but then fatigue comes into it if you're playing every few days, twice a week. And then arguably, the first team available to them, is that even going to be good enough to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge? I know Chelsea aren't playing very well, but they're still a decent side. We don't know if any signings are going to be made between now and then, but it's not going to be easy. A 1-0 lead is looking even more precarious at this stage. After that, they've got Palace in the FA Cup away. Palace are probably going to be focusing on a relegation survival, so they may rest up. Spurs may need to rest up just to keep players available for further tests. Is it going to come a case where now Pochettino has to balance what is the priority? Is it winning a Carabao Cup, going further in the FA Cup, or is it staying in the top four of the Champions League positions? After that, they've got Watford at home again. It's at home, even without certain players, you would hope that they can probably still eke out a victory, but it's not going to be easy with the number of games. Newcastle at home is the game after that, which is, so we've got a Saturday, then we've got a Wednesday fixture, then we've got the 2nd of February, which is Saturday again, home against Newcastle again. A fixture they should be winning, but the only issue is the tiredness that may kick in. Leicester at home, so they've got 3 Premier League home games in a row. As I said, as the fixtures look, it could have been a lot worse. There's no Man City. There's no, they just played Manchester United. There's no Arsenal, Liverpool. It's the teams around the bottom half or the middle of the table that they're going to be playing. But then after that, 13th of February, Borussia Dortmund at home in the Champions League. Now, I'm not 100% sure when the Asian Cup finishes, but they need those players back. There may be a case that they can't get rid of Dembele. Dembele has to stay. I don't know. But I'm not sure when the Chinese transfer window closes, because their season doesn't start for another couple of months. So maybe they can buy players after the January transfer window closes. So they may have to hang on to Dembele for a few more weeks. Then they've got Burnley in the Premier League, and then Chelsea at the end of February in the Premier League, and then Arsenal in the Premier League as well, 2nd of March. The news was that Harry Kane is going to be back in training early March. For them, they were hope that he's back in training in late February, so he's fit for that North London derby. Or at least all the other players, you know, Sissoko, etc. All of those players are back. Because those two games, 27th of February and the 2nd of March against Chelsea and Arsenal, they could have a pivotal say about who's going to get into that top 4. Manchester United, 5 Premier League wins in a row. Then we've got Brighton at home, Burnley at home, Leicester away, Fulham away. Those are 4 very winnable Premier League games. If Spurs drop any points between now and those games, Man United's on their coattails. So it's not even just top 4 now that's in the offing. Chelsea's only 1 point behind Spurs. 3rd place is up for grabs. And if Spurs ain't careful, they could drop out of the top 4 completely. We were talking about them as title rivals title challengers not too long ago. Now they may have to start looking over their shoulder about just finishing in the top 4. It just goes to show that as good as their squad is, or as good as their players are anyway, when you don't spend any money in January in the summer window, you leave yourself susceptible to this. If you don't spend any money in this January, they're gonna have to really grind through. I thought about it myself, and I heard a few first fans talking about Callum Wilson as a possible purchase, and I think he would be a good purchase regardless of the injury issues. I think that would be a massive step up from Bournemouth. I'm not going to say he's willing to sit behind Kane as first choice, as a second choice striker, but when you're at a much bigger club, you have to be willing to fight for your position. He's definitely just a number 9, so it's not like he could play in multiple positions. But if he's willing to go, that is a sign that they should really be looking at. The problem is that he's probably going to cost near 50 million, and it doesn't look like Levy's willing to do that. So Spurs are going to have to use all their power, all their resources to get out of this tricky situation. Liverpool, they've got issues at the other end of the field. Obviously, we know that Lovren is already out. We know that Gomez is out till February at the earliest, fractured leg. And now Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's out for a month, 4 weeks, it was said. I think it's a knee injury. I'm not 100% sure, but 4 weeks, which means they're gonna have to start playing some more players out of position. Fabinho played centre back against Wolves in the FA Cup and against Brighton in the Premier League, and he played well next to Van Dijk. So he could play there again, but then they're gonna have to move Milner into the right back position. If I'm correct, Matip might actually be back from injury. Let me just check their last fixture, because if that is the case, then they could play. Let's see, the Matip. Yeah, Matip was on the bench in their last game, so Matip could go back to centre back next to Van Dijk, and they could play Fabinho right back. He's played there many a times for Monaco, so it's not a position that's going to be difficult for him to play in per se. And the fixtures they've got coming up, I think they're all fixtures that they expect to be winning. Crystal Palace at home, Leicester at home, West Ham away, and Bournemouth at home before the Champions League against Bayern Munich. So I think, players in other positions in that case may not affect them as much as it may affect Tottenham, just due to the volume of injuries. Additionally, they could play Milner at right back if Matip's back at centre back, and move Fabinho right back into the central midfield, especially because it looks like Wijnaldum is also out. I'm not sure exactly how long for, may only be for a week or 2, but he's out as well. So I think that may be the best option if Matip is fit, because you don't want to have to disrupt both the defense and the midfield with those injuries. If you can just disrupt one or the other, then the other side can cover that. So we'll see what Klopp does. There's not going to be any excuses if they do drop points, because the injuries is part and parcel of the game. last season, for example, we spoke about Liverpool only having an 11, and if XYZ got injured, then they would have to cope. They bought in the summer, they bought in January last year, so this is what they're doing here to cope. We'll just have to see how they cope with that, and see if they can, hold off the challenge of Man City. Additionally, at the bottom of the table, Fulham have made a big signing, possibly to help them in their relegation fight. They've signed Ryan Babel, the Dutch international, ex-Liverpool player from Besiktas. He's been signed on a permanent deal to the end of the season, and I think their goalkeeper Fabry is going back to Besiktas on loan for the rest of the season as part of the deal. They need goals. I think they scored 20 goals this year. They rely a lot on Mitrovic. Abubakar Kamara isn't really contributing in that sense, and nobody else is really contributing. As I said, they rely a lot on Mitrovic. So Ryan Babel, who is on form, especially for Holland, he's got, I think, maybe 6 or 7 goals for Besiktas so far this season. He can add a lot. He knows what the Premier League's about. He's a dynamic player, even at his age, 31, 32. He's dynamic. And if he can find form and get on the score sheet for Fulham, it could aid them massively in their relegation fight. That's it from me with your Premier League news for today. I'll see you soon.